luck with it. It should be okay. I think they still see the pandemic as, and the Czech Republic has the highest incidence of COVID-19 in the EU, so that works in your favor. Yeah.
I can still use the motivation from the Sangata Sutra for this, can't I?
Yeah, and there's also, they've got the special instructions on what you think, the visualization you do. In fact, it's one of them.
Yeah, the Appendix C.
It's quite nice to do all of that. You've got time. You've got
the instruction to visualize. Oh no, it's a bit. This is so. This one is for.
One of them is quite nice extra instructions.
Yeah, so this Appendix C. That's for the Sangata. So that's what I did last time.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, so you do this. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like this. You visualize the Buddha is giving you the teaching, or your Buddha giving the teaching, and after you finish, you do this. It's quite nice.
Yes. Okay. We're on. Thank you. What's the time? Do we? Good morning, Venerable Yeshe here, and we are on Chotrudichin, celebrating the last of the 15 days of miracles. And as per Lama Zopa Rinpoche's advice, we're going to recite the Vajrakatta Sutra. Prior to doing that, we'll set a motivation, apart from all the prayers for this pandemic finishing. We just pray for all sentient beings to be free from suffering and to achieve enlightenment. So firstly, we'll take refuge and generate bodhicitta and do it in English. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginning this time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. Do a short mandala offering. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru and the 3 precious gems. Please bless my mind. I am requesting you to immediately pacify all the wrong conceptions, from incorrect devotion to the Guru up to the subtle dual view of the white, red, and dark visions that exist in my mind and in the minds of all other sentient beings. I am requesting you to immediately generate all the right realizations, from Guru devotion up to enlightenment, in my mind and in the minds of all other sentient beings. I am requesting you to pacify all outer and inner obstacles to actualizing the entire graduated path to enlightenment in my mind and in the minds of all other sentient beings. I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru and the 3 precious gems. Please bless my mind. I am requesting you to immediately pacify all the wrong conceptions, from incorrect devotion to the Guru up to the subtle dual view of the white, red, and dark visions that exist in my mind and in the minds of all other sentient beings. I am requesting you to immediately generate all the right realizations from Guru devotion up to the enlightenment in my mind and in the minds of all mother sentient beings. I am requesting you to pacify all outer and inner obstacles to actualizing the entire graduated path to enlightenment in my mind and in the minds of all mother sentient beings. I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru and the three precious gems. Please bless my mind. I am requesting you to immediately pacify all the wrong conceptions from incorrect devotion to the Guru up to the subtle dual view of the white, red and dark visions that exist in my mind and in the minds of all mother sentient beings. I am requesting you to immediately generate all the right realizations from Guru devotion up to enlightenment in my mind and in the minds of all mother sentient beings. I am requesting you to pacify all outer and inner obstacles to actualizing the entire graduated path to enlightenment in my mind and in the minds of all mother sentient beings. Iram Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Niryatayam. And we'll recite the mantra to multiply the merit of reciting the sutra as well. This will help multiply the merit by 1,000,000 times. Om Dare Dare Bindare Soha. 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 Now, just a short visualization for while we are reciting and reading the sutra. And there are two ways to visualize while reading the sutras, and both can be done at the same time. So visualize that Buddha is giving you the teaching directly while you read the sutra, and you actualize realizations in your heart while you are reciting. When reciting, visualize that you are giving the teachings to sentient beings as you read the sutra out loud. Since dogs, cats, birds, spirits, and other beings can hear you as you recite, you can invite the spirits and devas to listen as well. The sutra is medicine for the mind's delusions, where all sufferings come from. When you read the sutra, visualize that you are giving teachings to the beings of all 6 realms, offering them the opportunity to actualize the path and be liberated from their delusions, defilements, karma, and suffering. As you recite or read, and when you have finished, visualize that you and all beings, the hell beings, animals, and so on, are purified by unfathomable numbers of nectar beams coming from unfathomable numbers of bodhisattvas. On this basis, visualize clearly that you and all the beings receiving teachings are generating extraordinary bliss and happiness. Oh, and emptiness. I do beg your pardon, but happiness is good. So we'll start the Rajakatta Sutra. In English, it's called the Exalted Mahayana Sutra on the Wisdom Gone Beyond, called the Vajrakatta. I prostrate to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling at Travasti in the grove of Prince Jeta in the garden of Anapanandata, together with a great sangha of bhikshus, of 1,250 bhikshus, and a great many Bodhisattva Mahasattvas. Then, in the morning, having put on the lower and upper Dharma robes and carrying the begging bowl, the Bhagavan entered the great city of Travasti to request alms. Then, having gone to the great city of Travasti to request alms, the Bhagavan afterwards enjoyed the alms food, and having performed the activity of food, since he had given up the alms of later food, put away the begging bowl and upper robe. His feet sat upon the prepared cushion, and fastened the cross-legged posture, straightened the body upright, and placed mindfulness in front. Then many bhikshus approached to the place where the Bhagavan was, and having reached there, bowing their heads to the Bhagavan's feet, circumambulated 3 times and sat to one side. Also at that time, the Venerable Subhuti, joining that very assembly, sat down. Then the Venerable Subhuti rose from the seat, placed the upper robe over one shoulder, set his right knee on the ground, bowed joined palms, and said this to the Bhagavan. Bhagavan, the extent to which the Tathagata Arhat, perfectly enlightened Buddha, has benefited the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas with highest benefit, the extent to which the Tathagata has entrusted the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas with highest entrustment. Bhagavan, it is astonishing. Sagata, it is astonishing. Bhagavan, how should one who has correctly entered the Bodhisattva's vehicle abide? How practice, how control the mind? And the Bhagavan said to the Venerable Subhuti, Subhuti, well said, well said. Subhuti, it is so, it is so. The Tathagata has benefited the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas with the highest benefit. The Tathagata has entrusted the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas with the highest entrustment. Subhuti, therefore, listen and properly retain it in the mind, and I will explain to you how one who has correctly entered the Bodhisattva's vehicle should abide, how practice, how control the mind. Having replied, Bhagavan, so be it. The Venerable Subhuti listened in accordance with the Bhagavan, and the Bhagavan said this, Subhuti, hear, one who has correctly entered the Bodhisattva's vehicle should generate the mind of enlightenment in this. As many as are included in the category of sentient being, born from egg, born from the womb, born from heat and moisture, born miraculously, with form, without discrimination, but not without subtle discrimination. The realm of sentient beings, as many as are designated by imputation as sentient beings. All those I shall cause to pass completely beyond sorrow into the realm of Nirvana without remainder of the aggregates. Although limitless sentient beings have thus been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow, no sentient being whatsoever has been caused to pass completely beyond sorrow. Why is that, Subhuti? Bodhisattva engages in discrimination, sentient being is not called Bodhisattva. Why is that, Subhuti? If anyone engages in discriminating a sentient being, or engages in discriminating a living being, or engages in discriminating a person, they are not called Bodhisattva. Further, Subhuti gives gift without abiding in gives a gift without abiding in any phenomena whatsoever. A gift should be given not abiding in visual form, nor should a gift be not given sound, smell, taste, tactility, or phenomenon. Subhuti, without abiding in discriminating anything whatsoever as any sign, thus does a bodhisattva give a gift. Why is that, Subhuti? It's because the heap of merit of the bodhisattva who gives a gift without abiding. Subhuti is not easy to take the measure of. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Do you think it is easy to take the measure of space in the east? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. Bhagavan said, Subhuti, similarly, do you think it is easy to take the measure of space in the south, west, north, above, below, the intermediate directions, and the 10 directions? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, similarly, the heap of merit of that bodhisattva who gives a gift without abiding is also not easy to take the measure of. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Is one viewed as Tathagata due to the perfect marks? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. It is not viewed as Tathagata due to the perfect marks. Why is that? Because that itself which the Tathagata call perfect marks are not perfect marks. He replied thus, and the Bhagavan said this to the Venerable Subhuti. Subhuti, to the degree that there are perfect marks, to that degree there is deception. To the degree there are no perfect marks, to that degree there is no deception. Via the Tathagata as marks and no marks. He said that, and the Venerable Subhuti replied to the Bhagavan, Bhagavan, in the future period at the end of the 500, when Holy Dharma will totally perish, will any sentient beings produce correct discrimination upon the words of sutras such as this being explained? The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, do not say what you have said. In the future period at the end of the 500, when the Holy Dharma will totally perish, will any sentient beings produce correct discrimination upon the words of sutras such as this being explained? Moreover, Subhuti, in the future period at the end of the 500, Holy Dharma will totally perish. There will be the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas endowed with Muratam, and he is endowed with wisdom. Subhuti, those Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, moreover, will not have one single Buddha. They will not have produced roots of virtue to just a single Buddha. Subhuti, there will be no to many hundred thousands of Buddhas and produce roots of virtue to many hundred thousands of Buddhas. Subhuti, those who will acquire merely a single mind of faith upon the words of such sutras as this being explained. Subhuti, the Tathagata knows. Subhuti, they are seen by the Tathagata. Subhuti, all those sentient beings will produce and perfectly collect an unfathomable heap of merit. Why is that? Subhuti, because these Bodhisattva Mahasattvas will not engage in discriminating a self and will not discriminate a sentient being, will not discriminate a living being, will not engage in discriminating a person. Subhuti, those Bodhisattva Mahasattvas will not engage in discriminating phenomena, nor discriminating non-phenomena, nor will they engage in discrimination or non-discrimination. Why is that? Subhuti, because there is the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas engage in discriminating phenomena, that itself would be of them, grasping a self and grasping a sentient being, grasping a living being, grasping a person. If they engage in discriminating phenomena as non-existent, that would be of them grasping a self and grasping a sentient being, grasping a living being, grasping a person. Why is that? Further, Subhuti, because a bodhisattva should not wrongly grasp phenomena nor grasp non-phenomena. Therefore, thinking of that, the Tathagata said, if by those who know this Dharma treatise is like a boat, even Dharmas should be given up, What need is there to mention non-dharmas? Further, the Bhagavan said to the Venerable Subhuti, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does that Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata, unsurpassed, perfect and complete enlightenment, exist whatsoever? Has any Dharma been taught by the Tathagata? He said that, and the Venerable Subhuti replied to the Bhagavan, Bhagavan, as I understand this meaning that was taught by the Bhagavan, that Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata, perfect and complete enlightenment, does not exist whatsoever. That Dharma that was taught by the Tathagata does not exist whatsoever. Why is that? Because any Dharma manifestly and completely realized or taught by the Tathagata is not to be grasped, not to be expressed, to be expressed. It is not Dharma, nor is it non-Dharma. Why is that? Because Arya beings are differentiated by the uncompounded. The Bhagavan said to the Venerable Subhuti, Subhuti, what do you think about this? If some son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage completely filling this billion-fold world system, 7 types of precious things were to give gifts, do you think that the son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage would produce an immense heap of merit on that basis? Bhagavan, immense, Sagata, immense. That son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage would produce an immense heap of merit on that basis. Why is that? Bhagavan, because the very heap of merit is not a heap. Therefore, the Tathagata says, heap of merit, heap of merit. The Bhagavan said, Subhati, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who, completely filling this billion-fold world system with 7 types of precious things, to give gifts, if someone having taken even as little as 1 stanza of 4 lines from this discourse of Dharma, also were to explain and correctly and thoroughly teach it to others, on that basis the heap of merit produced greater, incalculable, unfathomable. Why is that, Subhuti? Because the unsurpassed, perfect, completely enlightenment of the Tathagata, perfectly complete Buddha, arises from it. The Buddha Bhagavans are also produced from it. Why is that, Subhuti? Because the Dharma called Buddha Dharmas are those Buddha Dharmas taught by the Tathagata as non-existent. Therefore, they are called Buddha Dharmas. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does the stream enterer think I have attained the result of stream enterer? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. Why is that? Bhagavan, because one does not enter into anything whatsoever. Therefore, one is called stream enterer. One has not entered in form, nor entered into sound, nor into smell, nor into taste, nor into tactility, nor entered into a phenomenon. Therefore, one is called stream enterer. Bhagavan, if that stream enterer were to think, I have attained the result of stream enterer, that itself would be a grasping of that as a self, grasping as a sentient being, a living being, grasping as a person. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does one only think, I have attained the result of one's returner? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. Why is that? Because the phenomena of entry into the state of the once returner does not exist whatsoever. One says once returner. Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does non-returner think I have attained the result of non-returner? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. Why is that? Because the phenomenon of entry into the state of the non-returner does not exist whatsoever. Therefore, one says non-returner. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does the Arhat think I have attained the result of Arhatship? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. Why is that? Because the phenomenon called Arhat does not exist whatsoever. Bhagavan, if the Arhat were to think I have attained the result of Arhatship, that itself would be grasping of that as a self, grasping as a sentient being, grasping as a living being, grasping as a person. Bhagavan, I was declared by the Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, as the foremost of those who abide without afflictions. Bhagavan, I am an Arhat, free of attachment. But Bhagavan, I do not think I am an Arhat. Bhagavan, if I were to think I have attained Arhatship, the Tathagata would not have made the prediction about me, saying, the son of the lineage Subhuti is the foremost of those who abide without afflictions. Since not abiding in anything whatsoever, he abides without affliction. He abides without affliction. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does that Dharma that was received by the Tathagata from the Tathagata Arhat, perfect complete Buddha Dipankara, exist whatsoever? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. That Dharma that was received by the Tathagata from the Tathagata Arhat, perfect completed Buddha Dipankara, does not exist whatsoever. Subhuti, if some bodhisattva were to say, I shall actualize arranged fields, they would speak untruly. Why is that? Subhuti, because arranged fields, called arranged fields, those arrangements are taught by the Tathagata as non-existent. Therefore, they are called arranged fields. Subhuti, therefore, the bodhisattva mahasattva thus should generate the mind without abiding, should generate the mind not abiding in anything. They should generate the mind not abiding in form, should generate the mind not abiding in sound, smell, taste, tactility, or phenomenon. Subhuti, it is like that. If, for example, the of a being were to become thus, were to become like this, as being a Sumeru, the king of mountains, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Would that body be big? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, that body would be big. Sagata, that body would be big. Why is that? Because it is taught by the Tathagata as not being a thing, therefore it is called a body. Since it is taught by the Tathagata as not being a thing, therefore it is called a big body. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? If there were also just as many Ganges rivers as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, would there be grains of sand many? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, if those very Ganges rivers were many, there is no need to mention their grains of sand. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, you should appreciate, you should understand. If some man or woman completely filling with the 7 kinds of precious things that many world systems as there are grains of sand of those river Ganges were to offer that to the Tathagata Arhat, perfect complete Buddhas, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Man or woman produce much merit on that basis? Bhagavan, much, Sagata, much. That man or woman would produce much merit on that basis. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, compared to someone who completely filling that many world systems with the 7 types of precious things, to give gifts to the Tathagata Arhat, complete Buddhas, if someone having taken even as little as a stanza of 4 lines from this discourse of Dharma were to explain it and correctly and thoroughly teach it also to others, on that basis the merit that itself would produce would be much greater, incalculable, unfathomable. Furthermore, Subhuti, at whatever place on earth, even a stanza of 4 lines from this discourse on Dharma is recited or taught. That place on earth is a real shrine of the world with devas, humans, and asuras. What need to mention that whoever takes up this discourse of Dharma, memorizes, reads, understands, and properly takes to mind, will be most astonishing. At that place on earth, the teacher resides, other levels of gurus also abide. And the Venerable Subhuti replied to the Bhagavan, Bhagavan, what is the name of this discourse of Dharma? How should it be remembered? He said that, and the Bhagavan replied to the Venerable Subhuti, Subhuti, the name of this Dharma discourse is the wisdom gone beyond. It should remember like that. Why is that, Subhuti? Because the very same wisdom gone beyond that is taught by the Tathagata is not gone beyond. Therefore, it is called wisdom gone beyond. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Do the Dharma taught by the Tathagata exist whatsoever? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, the Dharma that is taught by the Tathagata does not exist whatsoever. Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Quantities of particles of earth that exist in the billion-fold world system, many? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, the particles of earth are many. Sagata, there are many. Why is that, Bhagavan? Because there is a particle of earth was taught by the Tathagata as not being a particle. Therefore, it is called a particle of earth. That which is a world system was taught beyond the Tathagata as not being a world system. Therefore, it is called a world system. The Tathagata said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Is one to be viewed as the Tathagata Arhat, perfect complete Buddha, due to those 32 marks of merit being? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. Why is that? Bhagavan, because those 32 marks of a great being that are taught by the Tathagata are taught by the Tathagata as no marks. Therefore, they are called 32 marks of the Tathagata. Further, Subhuti, compared with some man or woman completely giving up the body, numbering the grains of sand of the river Ganges, if someone taking even as little as a stanza of 4 lines from this discourse of Dharma also were to reach it to others, they would produce it on the basis of many great merits, incalculable, unfathomable. Therefore, Pact of the Dharmas shed tears. Having wiped away the tears, he replied to the Bhagavan, Bhagavan, this discourse on Dharma taught thus by the Tathagata, Bhagavan, is astonishing. Sagata, it is astonishing. Bhagavan, since my production of exalted wisdom, I have never before heard this discourse on Dharma. Bhagavan, those sentient beings who are not upon this sutra being acclaimed will be most astonishing. Why is that? Bhagavan, this discrimination is not discrimination. Therefore, correct discrimination was taught by the Tathagata, saying correct discrimination. Bhagavan, upon this Dharma discourse being explained, that I imagine and appreciate is not astonishing to me. Bhagavan, in final time, in the final age, at the end of the 500, those sentient beings who take up this Dharma discourse, memorize, read, and understand it will be most astonishing. Furthermore, Bhagavan, they will not engage in discriminating a self, will not engage in discriminating a sentient being, discriminating a living being, discriminating a person. Why is that, Bhagavan? Because that itself, which is discrimination, is a self. Discrimination is a sentient being, discrimination is a living being, and discrimination as a person is not discrimination. Why is that? Because the Buddha Bhagavans are free of all discrimination. He said that, and the Bhagavan replied to the Venerable Subhuti, Subhuti, it is so, it is so. Upon this sutra being explained, those sentient beings who are unafraid, unterrified, and will not become terrified will be most astonishing. Subhuti, because the highest wisdom gone beyond, taught by the Tathagata, the highest wisdom gone beyond that is taught by the Tathagata, was also taught by unfathomable Buddha Bhagavans. Therefore, it is called highest wisdom gone beyond. Further, Subhuti, that itself, which is the patience gone beyond of the Tathagata, is not gone beyond. Why is that, Subhuti? Because when the king of Kalinga cut off my limbs and appendages, At that time, there did not arise in me discrimination as a self, discrimination as a sentient being, discrimination as a living being, nor discrimination as a person. And in me, there was no discrimination whatsoever. Yet there was also no non-discrimination. Why is that, Subhuti? Because if that time there had been risen in me discrimination as a self, at that time there would have also a discrimination of malice. If there had arisen discrimination as a sentient being, discrimination as a living being, discrimination as a person, at that time there would also have arisen discrimination of malice. Subhuti, I know with clairvoyance that in the past period, during 500 lifetimes, I was the rishi called preacher of patience. Even then, there did not arise in me the discrimination of the self. There did not arise in discrimination as a sentient being, discrimination as a living being, discrimination as a person. Subhuti, therefore, the Bodhisattva completely abiding should there direct mind for unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. One should generate the mind not abiding in form. One should generate the mind not abiding in sound, clearly or phenomenon. One should generate the mind not abiding in non-phenomenon either. One should in one thing whatsoever. Why is that? Because that itself which is abiding does not abide. Therefore, the Tathagata taught the Bodhisattva should give gifts not abiding. Further, Subhuti, the Bodhisattva should thus totally give away gifts for the welfare of all sentient beings. However, that itself which is discrimination as a sentient being is non-discrimination. Those themselves were taught by the Tathagata saying all sentient beings also do not exist. Why is that, Subhuti? Because the Tathagata reaches reality. Teaches what is without error. Further, Subhuti, the Dharma that is manifestly and completely realized or shown by the Tathagata is neither truth nor falsity. Subhuti, it is like this. For example, if a man with eyes has entered darkness, he does not see anything whatsoever. Likewise, should one view the Bodhisattva who totally gives up a gift by falling into anything. Subhuti, it is like this. Upon dawn and the sun rising, a man with eyes sees various kinds of forms. Likewise, should one view the Bodhisattva who totally gives up a gift by not falling into anything. Further, Subhuti, those sons of the lineage or daughters of the lineage who take up this Dharma discourse, memorize, read, and understand correctly and thoroughly teach it to others in detail, are known by the Tathagata. They are seen by the Tathagata. All those sentient beings will produce an unfathomable heap of merit. Further, Subhuti, compared to some man or woman at the time of dawn, totally giving up bodies, numbering the grains of sand of the river Ganges, also totally giving up bodies, numbering the grains of sand of the river Ganges at the time of midday and evening, in such number totally giving up the bodies for many hundreds, thousands of 10 million, 100 billion eons. Who had this Dharma discourse would not reject it if they themselves would produce much great merit on that basis, incalculable, unfathomable. What need to mention someone who, having written it in letters, takes it up, memorizes, reads, understands, and correctly and thoroughly teaches it others in detail. Further, Subhuti, this Dharma discourse is unimaginable and incomparable. This Dharma discourse was taught by the Tathagata for the benefit of correctly entered into the welfare of sentient beings who have correctly entered into the best vehicle. Those who take up this Dharma discourse, memorize, read, understand, and correctly and thoroughly teach it to others in detail are known by the Tathagata. They are seen by the Tathagata. All those sentient beings will be endowed with an unfathomable heap of merit. Being endowed with an unimaginable heap of merit, incomparable, immeasurable, and limitless, all those sentient beings will hold my enlightenment on the shoulder. Why is that? Subhuti, this Dharma discourse is unable to be heard by those who appreciate the inferior, by those viewing a self, by those viewing a sentient being, by those viewing a living being, and those viewing a person are unable to hear, take up, to memorize, to read, and to understand being. And Subhuti is whatever place on earth this sutra is taught. The place on earth will become worthy to be paid homage by the world humans and asuras. That place on earth will become worthy as an object of prostration and worthy as an object of circumambulation. That place on earth will become like a shrine. Subhuti, whatever son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage takes up these words of sutra like this, memorizes, reads, and understands, they will be tormented, will be intensely tormented. Why is that, Subhuti? Because we're living on virtuous actions of former lifetimes that were committed by those sentient beings that would bring rebirth in the lower realms due to torment in this very life. Those non-virtuous actions of former lifetimes will be purified, and they'll also attain the enlightenment of a Buddha. Subhuti, I know with clairvoyance that in the past period, in even more countless of countless eons, much beyond even beyond, Rajakatta, perfect complete Buddha, Dipankara, there were 84,000 million, 100 billion Buddhas whom I pleased, and having pleased did not upset. Subhuti, from whatever I did, having pleased and not having upset those Buddha Bhagawans, and in the future period, the end of the 500, from someone taking up this sutra, memorizing, reading, and understanding, Subhuti, compared to this heap of merit, the former heap of merit does not approach even a 100th part thousandth part, 100,000th part, does not withstand enumeration, measure, calculation, similarity, equivalence, or comparison. Subhuti, at that time, the sons of the lineage or daughters of the lineage will receive a quantity of heap of merits that, if I were to express a heap of merit of those sons of the lineage or daughters of the lineage, sentient beings would go mad, would be disturbed. Further, Subhuti, this Dharma discourse being unimaginable, its maturation indeed should also be known as unimaginable. Then the Venerable Subhuti, Bhagavan, Bodhisattvas of equal abide, how practice, how control the mind. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, here, one who has correctly entered the Bodhisattva's vehicle should generate the mind, thinking this, I shall cause all sentient beings to pass completely the mind.
Although sentient beings were caused to pass completely
Beyond sorrow like that. No sentient being whatsoever was caused to pass beyond sorrow. Why is that? Subhuti, because if a bodhisattva engages in discriminating a sentient being, he is not to be called a bodhisattva. Also, if he engages in discriminating a person, he is not to be called a bodhisattva. Why is that? Subhuti, because the Dharma called, one who has correctly entered the bodhisattva's vehicle, does not exist whatsoever. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does that Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata from the Tathagata of Dipankara, unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, exist whatsoever? He said that, and the Venerable Subhuti replied to the Bhagavan, that Dharma was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata of Dipankara, unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, does not exist whatsoever. He said that, and the Bhagavan replied to the Venerable Subhuti, Subhuti, it is so, and that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata from the Tathagata, unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, does not exist whatsoever. Subhuti, if that Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata were to exist at all, the Tathagata Dipankara would not have made the prediction to me, saying, Young Brahmin, in a future period you'll become the Tathagata perfect and complete Buddha called Shakyamuni. Subhuti, thus, since that Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata, unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, does not exist whatsoever, therefore the Tathagata Dipankara made the prediction to me, saying, Young Brahmin, in a future period you will become the Tathagata perfect, complete Buddha called Shakyamuni. Why is that? Because Subhuti, Tathagata is an epithet of suchness of reality. Subhuti, if someone were to say the Tathagata perfect, completely Buddha, and they realize unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment, they would speak wrongly. Why is that? Subhuti, because that demand was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata, unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment does not exist whatsoever. Subhuti, that Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata has neither truth nor falsity. Therefore, all Dharmas are Buddha Dharmas was taught by the Tathagata. Subhuti, all Dharmas, all those are non-Dharmas. Therefore, it is said that all Dharmas are Buddha Dharmas. Subhuti, it is like this, for example, human endowed with a body, and the body became large. The Venerable Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, that taught by the Tathagata, a human endowed with a body and a large body, taught by the Tathagata as not being a body, therefore endowed with a body and a large body is said. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, it is so. If some Bodhisattva were to say, I shall cause sentient beings to completely pass beyond sorrow, he should not be called Bodhisattva. Why is that? Subhuti, does the Dharma called Bodhisattva exist whatsoever? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it does not. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, therefore it was taught by the Tathagata that all dharmas are without a sentient being, a living being without a person. Subhuti, if some Bodhisattva were to say, I shall actualize arranged fields, he too should be expressed similarly. Why is that? Subhuti, because the arranged fields, all arranged fields, are those taught by arranged. Therefore they are all called arranged fields. Subhuti, whatever Bodhisattva appreciates that dharmas are selfless, saying dharmas are selfless, expressed by the Tathagata, Arhat, perfect complete Buddha, is a Bodhisattva called a Bodhisattva. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does the Tathagata possess the flesh eye? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is so. The Tathagata possesses the flesh eye. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does the Tathagata possess the divine eye? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is so. The Tathagata possesses the divine eye. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does the Tathagata possess the wisdom eye? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is so. The Tathagata possesses the wisdom eye. The Tathagata said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does the Tathagata possess the Dharma eye? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is so. The Tathagata possesses the Dharma eye. The Tathagata said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does the Tathagata possess the Buddha eye? Bhagavan, it is so. The Tathagata possesses the Buddha eye. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? If there have been also just as many as Ganges rivers, there are grains of sand in the river Ganges. There were just as many world systems as there are grains of sand of those. Would those world systems be many? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is so. Those world systems would be many. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, as many sentient beings as exist in those world systems, I totally know the continual consciousness of different thoughts. Why is that? Subhuti, because so-called continuum of consciousness is that taught by the Tathagata as a non-continuum. Therefore, it is called a continuum of consciousness. Why is that? Subhuti, because past consciousness does not exist as an observable, nor does future consciousness exist as an observable, nor does present consciousness exist as an observable. Subhuti, what do you think about this? If someone completely filling this billion-fold world system with the 7 types of present, do you think that the son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage would produce an enormous heap of merit on that basis? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, enormous, Sagata, enormous. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, it is so, that son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage would produce an enormous heap of merit on that basis. Subhuti, if a heap of merit were a heap of merit, the Tathagata would not have taught a heap of merit called a heap of merit. Subhuti, what do you think about this? One be viewed as the Tathagata due to total achievement of the form body? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is not so. One should not be viewed as the Tathagata due to total achievement of the form body. Why is that, Bhagavan? Because total achievement of the form body is that taught by the Tathagata as not being total achievement. Therefore, it is called total achievement of the form body. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? Is one to be viewed as the Tathagata due to be marks? Bhagavan, it is not so. One is not to be viewed as the Tathagata due to perfect marks. Why is that? Because that which was taught by the Tathagata as perfect marks was taught by the Tathagata as not being perfect marks. Therefore, they are called perfect marks. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, what do you think about this? If it is taught by the Tathagata, considered demonstrated by me. Subhuti, do not view it like that, because the Dharma that is demonstrated by the Tathagata does not exist whatsoever. Subhuti, if someone were to say the Dharma is demonstrated by the Tathagata, Subhuti, deprecation, wrongly seized. Why is that? Subhuti, because that demonstrated Dharma, called demonstrated Dharma, which is referred to saying demonstrated Dharma, does not exist whatsoever. Then the Venerable Subhuti said to the Bhagavan, Bhagavan, in the future period, will there be any sentient beings who, having heard the demonstration of such Dharma as this, will clearly believe? The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, they are not sentient beings nor non-sentient beings. Why is that? Subhuti, so-called sentient beings, because they were taught by the Tathagatas as non-sentient beings, therefore they're called sentient beings. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Does that Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata, unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment, exist whatsoever? The Venerable Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, Dharma that was manifestly and completely realized by the Tathagata, past, perfect, complete enlightenment, does not exist whatsoever. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, it is so, for it even the least Dharma does not exist and is not observed. Therefore it is called unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Further, Subhuti, that Dharma is equivalent, since for it inequivalence does not exist whatsoever. Therefore, it is called unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. That unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, equivalent is selfless, without sentient being, without living being, without person, is manifestly and completely realized through all virtuous Dharmas. Subhuti, virtuous Dharmas called virtuous Dharmas, they are taught by the Tathagata, and therefore called virtuous Dharmas. Further, Subhuti compared to the son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage complete precious things about equaling whatever Sumeru, king of mountains, exists, billion world systems, and giving gifts. If someone, having taken up even as little as a stanza of 4 lines from his wisdom gone beyond, were to teach it to others, Subhuti, compared to this heap of merit, the former heap of merit, having not approached even 100th part, does not withstand comparison. Subhuti, what do you think about this? If it is thought that the Tathagata considers sentient beings are liberated by me, Subhuti, do not feel it like that. Why is that? Subhuti, because those sentient beings who are liberated by the Tathagata do not exist whatsoever. Subhuti, if some sentient beings were to be liberated by the Tathagata, that itself would be of the Tathagata, grasping itself, grasping a sentient being, grasping a living being, grasping a person. Subhuti, so-called grasping itself, that is taught by the Tathagata as non-grasping, that is grasped by all childish ordinary beings. Subhuti, so-called childish ordinary beings, they were taught by the Tathagata as just non-beings, therefore they are called childish ordinary beings. When you think about this, is one to be viewed as the Tathagata due to perfect marks? It is not so. One is not viewed as the Tathagata due to perfect marks. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, it is so, it is so. One is not viewed as the Tathagata due to perfect marks. Subhuti, if one were viewed as the Tathagata due to the marks, even the Trivaha king would be the Tathagata. Therefore, one is not viewed as the Tathagata due to perfect marks. Then the Venerable Subhuti said this to Bhagavan, as I understand the meaning of what Bhagavan has said, one is not viewed as the Tathagata due to perfect marks. Then these verses were spoken by the Bhagavan at that time. Whoever sees me as form, whoever knows me as sound, having wrongly engaged by abandoning, those beings do not see me. The Buddhas are Dharma, the Buddha, the gods are Dharmakaya. Since Dharma is not to be known, it's unable to be known. Subhuti, what do you think about this? If one grasps it, that Tathagata Arhat, perfect complete Buddha, is due to perfect marks. Subhuti, you should not view so. 4. Subhuti, the Tathagata Arhat, perfect complete Buddha, does not manifestly and completely realize unsurpassed perfect complete enlightenment due to perfect marks. Subhuti, if one grasps that some Dharma has been designated as destroyed or annihilated, those who have correctly entered the Bodhisattva's vehicle, Subhuti, it should be not viewed so. Entered the Bodhisattva's vehicle have not designated any Dharma whatsoever as destroyed or annihilated. Further, Subhuti, compared to any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who, completely filling with the 7 kinds of precious things, as many world systems as there are, grains of sand, rivers, Ganges, were to give gifts, if any Bodhisattva attained forbearance, the Dharmas themselves and unproduced, on the basis of the heap of merit they themselves would produce, would be much greater. Further, Subhuti, a heap of merit should not be acquired by the Bodhisattva. The Venerable Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, should not a heap of merit be acquired by the Bodhisattva? The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, acquire, not wrongly grasp. Therefore it is called acquire. Someone says the Tathagata goes or comes or stands or sits or lie down. Does not understand the meaning explained by me. Why is that? Subhuti, because the Tathagata, the one gone thus, does not go anywhere, nor has come from anywhere. Therefore one says the Tathagata, aha, perfect complete Buddha. Further, Subhuti, if some daughter of the lineage were to render as many atoms of earth as exist in billion-fold world system, like this, for example, into powder like a collection of subtlest atoms. Subhuti, what do you think about this? Would that collection of subtlest atoms be many? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it is so. That collection of subtlest atoms would be many. Why is that, Bhagavan? Because if there were a collection, the Bhagavan would not have said collection of subtlest atoms. Why is that? Because that collection of subtlest atoms that was taught by the Bhagavan was taught by the Tathagata as no collection. Therefore, one says collection of subtlest atoms. That billion-fold world system that was taught by the Tathagata was taught by the Tathagata as no system. Therefore, one says billion-fold world system. Why is that, Bhagavan? Because if there were to be a world system, that itself would be grasping a solid thing. Tathagata's grasping a solid thing was taught by the Tathagata as no grasping. Therefore, one says grasping a solid thing. Subhuti, grasping a solid thing is itself convention. That Dharma does not exist as expressed, yet it is grasped by ordinary childish beings. Subhuti, if someone were to say, viewing as a self was taught by the Tathagata and viewing as a sentient being, viewing as a living being, viewing as a person was taught by the Tathagata. Subhuti, would that be spoken by right speech? Subhuti replied, Bhagavan, it would not. Sagata, it would not. Why is that? Bhagavan, because that which was taught by the Tathagata as viewing as a self was taught by the Tathagata as no viewing. Therefore one says viewing as a self. The Bhagavan said, Subhuti, those who have correctly entered the Bodhisattva's vehicle should know, should view, should appreciate all dharmas like this. They should appreciate like this, not abiding whatsoever in any discrimination as a dharma. Why is that? Subhuti, because discrimination is a dharma called discrimination as a dharma taught by the Tathagata as non-discrimination. Therefore one says discrimination as a dharma. Compared to any Bodhisattva Mahasattva, completely filling unfathomable and incalculable world systems with the 7 kinds of precious things were to give gifts. If any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who, having taken as little as a stanza of 4 lines from this perfection of wisdom, memorize or read or understand or correctly and thoroughly teach it to others in detail, on that basis the merit he himself would produce would be more calculable, unfathomable. How should one correctly and thoroughly teach? Just how one would not correctly and thoroughly teach. Therefore one says correctly and thoroughly teach. As a star, a visual aberration, a lamp, an illusion, a dew, a bubble, dream, lightning, and a cloud. View all the compounded like that. That having been said by the Bhagavan, the elders, Subhuti, those Bodhisattvas, the fourfold disciples, bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas, and the world with devas, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, overjoyed, highly praised that taught by the Bhagavan. Exalted Mahayana Sutra on the wisdom gone beyond called the Vajrakatta is concluded. So having finished reading the sutra, we visualize that the sentient beings we have been, while we've been reciting the sutra, too, are all liberated from the causes of suffering. Their causes of delusions are purified and they all become enlightened. We'll dedicate the merit and rejoice. Reciting sutras for these extensive benefits is how the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra practiced using extensive visualizations. And with the dedications, the Vajrakatta just says at the front here, so Lama Zopa Rinpoche dedicated the Vajra to the supreme emanation body of Haruka, Venerable Kapje Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May Rinpoche live till samsara end, and may all his holy wishes be fulfilled. May whoever sees, hears, touches, reads, remembers, or recites this holy prayer be free from rebirth in the lower realms, always enjoy perfect conditions for practicing the Dharma, and never be separated from perfect spiritual masters, quickly develop bodhicitta, and immediately attain enlightenment for the sake of all mother sentient beings. And then we will do dedications, just do the in the prayer book, if you do have the prayer book, page 321, and we'll just do them in English. Long life of His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. To the incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Saviour of the land of snow teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path, unifies victims of compassion, to the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honouring the three sublime ones, Saviour of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Thank you.